Welcome to a new episode of the Guru Perspective, and I am your host, the Guru himself. And I want to talk about a few things. I want to briefly talk about some things in sports. Definitely wanted to do a show. I didn't want to wait too long to get some of these things and some of these records and accomplishments, basically out there to let you guys know what was happening in the world of sports. I took a week off because we're doing some things right now. We're changing studios and trying to get our productions and get everything in order. And I would like to first start off and say I'm thankful to be back and to be able to do another show and host another show for you guys today. And I want to start off with the actual playing games that's going to go on tonight. And I wanted to start off with the two 16 seed teams right now. The two 16 seed teams are Lehigh and Prairie View A&M. The winner faces number one Florida in that game. And then while the number 16 seed UMBC or either Howard, the winner of those games, will face the Michigan Wolverines. Do I really think it matters? Not trying to be arrogant. I really don't think it matters. So whoever they face, if you're a 16 seed, it's kind of more or less slim to none that they won't beat the number one seeds in this situation. But I'm going to check it out anyway to see what's going on. This is always a really good time of year for me, and the women will be playing tomorrow with their playing games. The cool part about it is too, we get to see a little bit of basketball before Thursday. The tournament really breaks off, and I'm definitely excited because I love this time of year. You get really good March Madness basketball, and I can really just keep my focus on that for one. I want to start off by talking about that too as well. I just feel like right now, when it comes to the March Madness playing games, it's going to be some really good things to transpire. But at this point, I just believe right now that I just want to get ready for the contest and see what goes on. I know the number one overall seed right now is Duke, which is well deserved. Arizona is like the second number one overall seed, and I feel like it was because of the fact that we lost to Duke in a very close game recently in the season. And I think by us losing so late in the season, being, I think if I'm not mistaken, we was like 25-1 and we lost. So Arizona already losing two games and Duke beating us, they went to number one, and rightfully so. Arizona was number two. I want to get into some other things too that excited me, and which surprised me because I didn't think that I would be as excited at this point about what was going on in the WBC. Venezuela will be facing the United States on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. in the 2026 WBC Championship. I want to tell you how the two teams definitely advanced. The United States beat the Dominican Republic 2-1 on Sunday night to advance, while Venezuela upset Italy 4-2 to advance on Monday night. I was kind of glad to talk about that too because Italy was getting a little ahead of themselves. Yeah, they beat us in the game, and I feel like at the time, I felt demoralized when it came to USA and our representatives. We was down 8-0, and it was like wasn't too much time in the game. They made a hell of a comeback going into the ninth inning, and the final score was little too late with the scores that Italy put out there. Putting up 8-0 was hard to overcome, but we still made it a 2 point deficit. The final score was 8-6, and Italy had a lot of words to say, when they beat Mexico and told them, well, this is what they said to the United States: you're welcome. Because they basically said if Mexico would have won, they wouldn't have been in, or if Mexico won by or lost by a certain amount of points, because the point system is so weird. If they lost by a certain amount of points, that they would have advanced, and the actual United States would have been out. Glad that didn't materialize. Italy handled business what they were supposed to. Got a little too cocky, and then that's when you seen the upset that just recently happened with Venezuela. Venezuela beat those guys, and I was actually happy about that. They beat them 4-2 on Monday, and I said, okay, now we got us a ball game, because by us beating Dominican Republic, I said, okay, that was actually pretty big. But going into this game, is anybody's game right now. I definitely would like to see the United States win, but at the same time, Venezuela got some really good players on that team. The pitch is awesome, and it's my homeboy Miguel Cabrera's team. So I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen because you got a lot of stars that are playing in the WBC from different countries, and it's pretty cool to see every now and then. It happens every 2 years, but it's good to see the bragging right. So yeah, I'm very interested in the game, and like I said, they will be competing, and I want to see what happened and how everything materialized at the end. Like I said, I would love for us to win, but just really getting there. I was happy, but I'd be lying if I said, oh, that's a consolation prize, we there and we supposed to be. If we lose, then that's all good. No, I want us to flat out win. I feel like they deserve it, and I hope that they can get that W. I want to go ahead now, and I want to talk about some NBA news. Actually, I'm sorry about that. Let me correct that, you guys. I want to talk about some NFL news. A lot is going on right now in the NFL, and I just wanted to talk about some of these things while my phone is going off too. Want to see what's going on there, but yeah, it's a lot of things that's going on, and I want to start off with Max Crosby right now. The Max Crosby news was so big, and we didn't expect that news to happen. It happened when we least suspected. I was just on the phone, kind of minding my own business, looking at text and seeing if anything was going to materialize around the time of the NFL free agent frenzy. And that's when I looked up and I seen the news that it said that the deal was off with Max Crosby going to the Baltimore Ravens because of the pending physical. He failed the physical, and it was kind of odd to me because he had the leg injury, and I felt like the Las Vegas Raiders wanted to keep him out for the last few games to keep him healthy. He was upset. He was playing basketball and just doing things around the house to basically indicate that he was fine and nothing was wrong with him. And they just put him out just to put him out with no merit or having no reason behind it. To kind of show them out a little bit, it seems like, in my opinion. That's just me, and I'm speaking for myself right now. But yeah, it just looked like he was showing that team out, basically saying there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. I can go whenever. If you guys decide not to play me, then that's on you. And when that happened, you see now he was more injured than what we expected going into this whole trade. And that's why it's so interesting, because it always say the trade will be official pending physical. He failed the physical. Baltimore took it off the table. They got their 2 first rounder back. And Max Crosby went back to the Las Vegas Raiders, which was really weird because of the fact is they already paid a lot of good guys in free agency. Max Crosby contract is still on the table. I want to know what's going to happen between those two parties, because right now they're saying he reportedly worked out all the issues he had with the team previously after the Baltimore trade collapsed. So I feel like he's in good graces with them right now. And I want to see if anything transpired going toward the June 1st, day, with the cap space, and see what they're going to do. Would they keep him or would they let him go? And, it's still to the point where you have on April the 23rd through the 25th, the NFL draft too as well. So it's a possibility. It's still possibilities because you see some surprising moves going into the draft, and most times June the 1st, around that time in the cap space destination when, they release guys. And it's just a lot of things are still going on right now because the physical year already started on March the 11th in the NFL. And then today you had the Jalen Waddle trade. Jalen Waddle trade was the Broncos trading for Jalen Waddle. And of course, Denver received Waddle and the Dolphins for a 4th round pick, 11th in the round in this year's draft. Miami received Broncos 1st round draft pick, 30th overall, along with the late 3rd and 4th round draft picks, which is 30th in each round, a 30-30 type of thing, if you ask me. And that happens in this year's draft too as well. So now you have Jalen Waddle, who was talking a lot of mess to Patrick Surtain, talking about if they had a boxing fight, he'd beat him up. But he said a little worse and more graphic than that. And I want to see how things work out now that they're teammates. I know it's going to be all laugh and jokes and games now, but it was cool to see the 2 Alabama guys, reunite once again. There's a lot of Alabama guys on teams in the NFL, but it's good to see him go over to Denver with Patrick Surtain. If I had to grade it, I would give them a B plus because of the fact is Denver Broncos definitely needed that guy who can separate from people on the field. No disrespect to Cortland Sutton, but I still feel like at this point they needed a guy who was explosive, who can blow the top off of, a defense. And Jalen Waddle can definitely do that. Now they got that 1-2 threat. And that was good news for them. But at the same time, Miami's already to the point where they're rebuilding. It's funny because after, the Bradley Chubb situation when he was gone and Tyreek Hill and some of the other players that they got rid of and let go in free agency, I didn't think that they were going to touch anybody like Devon Achane or Jaden Waddle. But that was to my surprise. I mean, things happen. It's business. And if you give somebody a good pitch, and people are listening regardless of who the player is, I just felt like it was time for them to move on and really do the whole rebuild process right now. Definitely with Tua and all the other players, the nucleus on the team is gone. So it makes a lot of sense for them to rebuild. And Jeff Hafley's form, they have their quarterback right now with Malik Willis. So I just want to see what's going to happen after that. Okay. Now we're going to get into the good, thick of things right now. We're going to talk about the A.J. Brown talks. Eagles right now had a situation that I was really surprised with. I thought that they were going to deal him by free agency. Nothing materialized quite yet. So the Eagles reportedly will trade they won't trade him at this time, I'm sorry. But however, discussions could resume once the salary cap relief on June the 1st approaches. So that's what they're saying right now. Everything is at a standstill right now. And I want to know what's going to happen because I've seen some interesting things after the Jaden Waddle deal too as well. I want you guys to know right now on the show, Hollywood Brown left the Kansas City Chiefs and he went over to the Philadelphia Eagles. Is that something to fill the void for A.J. Brown, or are they just trying to stock up, because I know they lost Dotson just not so long ago. So I just want to see what's going to happen there because now you have Hollywood Brown. He's injury prone. I'm not trying to throw any shade on him, but he hasn't been consistently healthy. But when he's healthy, he's pretty decent, I would say. New England Patriots and the Los Angeles Rams had reportedly made strong pushes in hopes to trade it for the star wide receiver. The Rams had discussed trading wide receiver Devontae Adams too. Now that I was surprised with because they just acquired him not so long ago. And to see now that when they ended up getting him, they signed him to a deal. And I thought, okay, well, they have them a match made at having Devontae Adams been a red zone threat. He's been very consistent and he's been very complimentary to Puka Nacua. Now, the reason why I'm not sure, I can't say I don't believe it will materialize. He's still owed $24 million. But that possibly could go off the books if they do pursue it, then get a trade for A.J. Brown. But I would really be surprised if they do something like that with a team that's still in the NFC. More likely, I would see them going for a team in the AFC, which the AFC team right now with the highest bid is the New England Patriots. And then plus the Mike Vrabel ties when they were with the Tennessee Titans. I think that's a good connection there. And I think that that'll be a match made in heaven for a guy like, Drake May, who needs the number one right now after the Stephon Diggs, deal didn't go well. I feel like he was doing pretty good over there with the New England Patriots, and he was their definitely true number one wide receiver. The problem was with him, some of the off-field antics that he had. But at the same time, he was Houdini in the Super Bowl. He disappeared. I know it was a lot of distraction, him having his baby mama there and Cardi B being there too as well. And it was just a thing of, disgust. A lot of nasty things happened there. Things got chippy. She left at the halftime. So it was a lot of things going on there that I don't really want to continually discuss. But things didn't go quite well for him, and he definitely was MIA when it came to the Super Bowl. He lost out on Cardi B, and he lost the biggest game of his career to the Super Bowl. It's hard to get there. I don't know if he'll be able to get back now because he's still trying to find him a team. At this point, I think A.J. Brown will fit perfectly over there to help out Drake May. I know they want to get Stephon Diggs off the books, which made a lot of sense. And they wanted to go for a high caliber wide receiver, which have familiarity and ties with, Mike Vrabel. Not only that, but he has, familiarity with his offense and his scheme of things too as well. So that makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, you have some dark horse teams in this whole situation as well. Because the cool part about it is when you have these situations, you got to understand. Because I remember not so long ago, I was talking to, the co-host of the Google Sports Session, and I told him, on March the 7th, don't be surprised if the Kansas City Chiefs go after Kenneth Walker the third, and it definitely happened. So when I seen that news and that happened, I said, okay, that was actually pretty cool, because when I seen that materialize, I was like, okay, that was more than likely to happen than not. It made a lot more sense than it didn't make sense. So I was appreciative of seeing that and be able to spread that news. And I think that right now, with the money they freed up with Trent McDuffie, and they ended up getting back, a familiar face like Travis Kelce, they still have opportunity to get guys out there and reunite like Tyreek Hill. I know L'Jarius Sneed is out there right now in free agency after being released from the Tennessee Titans. So I feel like this is Kansas City move to make one last push. Yes, I feel like I don't believe that Patrick Mahomes will be back at week 1 or in training camp, but you never know. I won't question the heart of a champion, a former champion, and a player with the caliber and the skill set of a Patrick Mahomes. So the A.J. Brown deal is one of the dark horses that possibly would make sense. That's one of the dark horse teams. And of course, you heard about the Los Angeles Chargers as well. So I want to see how this play out. You still have the, NFL draft in April. And then you still have the June the 1st, salary cap, destination. So I want to see how this all play out. I'm very interested in that at this point. And I want to talk about some other stuff too before I get off of here. I want to talk about some of the NBA news. I want to start off with some of the NBA news, and I want to talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It was hard to say that dude's name at first. Now it flows off the tip of the tongue because of the fact is the dude is hella talented, and he's one of the best players in the league. He played well, and his team plays well. But what was so cool about just the last Sunday game, he didn't play so good. I like to give credit where credit is due. A lot of people don't give this kid no credit like they should. Anthony Edwards is a beast, man. He's a good offensive player. He's good defensively. He wants the challenge of playing your best. He knew that he was going to be challenged by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and his skill set, but he shut him down for most of the game. At the half, he only had 10 points, and it was questionable that he would be able to get those 20 points. The third quarter, he played, didn't make a lot of baskets, looked kind of shaky. And then in the fourth quarter, he had his fourth quarter rest like he normally has. It was getting nerve-wracking at first because I said, man, he might not make it. I think that his streak might end at 127. But what he did in that fourth quarter was fantastic. He had 9 points. He got to the free throw line, made the 2 baskets. Of course, made his streak from 127 to 128. So not only did he pass Wilt Chamberlain by 1 game, he has a 2-game streak right now and counting. And he sat out the rest of the game. It wasn't really about him. He wanted to make sure that the team won. The team was looking good without him playing well. But when he got in the fourth quarter, it just showed that it wasn't about him. Yes, he got the 20 points and he sat back out because he wanted to focus on the team playing well. And they were doing good with him off the floor. And he wanted them to continue that. So I really felt like that was a big victory for them too. And that final score was 116 to 103. And that was a really good game because it looked like at the time Minnesota was going to run away with that game. But to their surprise, I was just happy to see the game go in OKC way. They got really cold. And then, when OKC went on their run, they went on a 12-3 and I said, okay, this might be the end of the game. And they were missing layups on the end of Minnesota, and they seemed like they were getting frustrated, and the 3-pointers and the shots wasn't falling. And then that's when OKC basically took full advantage, especially at home with their awesome crowd as well. And I feel like when he broke Wilt Chamberlain's record, it was a long-standing record set in 1963 with the 128 game streak after beating Minnesota. I feel like that was really huge. I want to see how long did this go. It's going to be hard to break 128 games. and I feel like he's still going to go on. I want to see when that streak ends, but I'm still interested in seeing how long will it continue as well. I was really happy with that. I thought that that was really cool to see. I enjoyed that as well as a fan of basketball. And I want to talk about some other things too before I get off the air. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was the expansion teams. You have two expansion teams that's going to be in the NBA that's being discussed, the Las Vegas team, and you have the team that's going to Seattle. I hope they keep the name the Seattle Supersonics, but I'm not sure what they're going to do yet. And those teams are going to be on the West. Therefore, this is the interesting point. I'd like to hear the news that when I was hearing about the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Memphis Grizzlies will be going to the East. I think that's going to be good for the East because I know how good the Minnesota Timberwolves are. The competition, they're going to have a lot of good bigs over there. It's going to probably be a little bit of animosity with Minnesota and New York after the trade. I think DiVincenzo and Julius Randle are comfortable with their team and comfortable in their skin now. But then it's still going to be a little animosity and a little hate after the trade. And I just want to see that matchup now. I think that's going to be a good rivalry, a new rivalry going into the East. And I want to see what happened too with the Memphis Grizzlies and how they hold their own in the East as well. I know it has been a lot of issues right now with Ja Morant and some of the off the field antics and the way he's been treating the team and like he doesn't get along with his team right now. I'm still surprised that he's on the Memphis Grizzlies, but I really want to see how everything transpires right now because the protected players you get on the teams when it's an expansion team, you get 8 protected players. So I want to see what, individuals will go to the expansion team and how everything will start off because Las Vegas might have a good start or Seattle. I would love to see Seattle do good. They had a good organization in basketball. They're a really good football organization. I definitely feel like it's time to get some, basketball back in Seattle too as well. And I'm really excited about that. So I just wanted to get on here today to talk to you guys and have this brief conversation. I didn't want to get on here too long. Just wanted to say thank you all for the love and support. Right now, I'm working on my brand, the Google's production, trying to get the productions and everything in point right now. But at the same time, I couldn't do this without, my boy E-Buck and the Nighthawk Network. And I appreciate everybody who chimes in and tune in to the show. And not only the Google Perspective, but the Google Sports Sessions is on Wednesday. And I believe this week we will not be doing Two Unks Talking TV. There's too much going on right now with what's happening in college with the March Madness. So we'll keep you posted, but at the same time, you already know how to reach me too. You can get with me at Hovey, WHOOVI on Instagram. On Facebook, you can get with me at Sports Guru to you. Once again, that's Sports Guru number 2 and just a regular U. And you can catch me too on TikTok at Hugh.Lee6. You can also catch me as well at the Sports Guru to you at gmail.com if you have any things or any comments or something else you want me to talk about as far as sports related, like more women's sports, hockey, whatever you want me to talk about. I'm definitely to the point where I listen, and I appreciate everybody who chime in and show their love and support. I would like to say thank you all for that. And at this time, I just want to get off of here with saying peace. Thank you all and have a blessed day.